Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Higurashi. Let's see if we can get just a little bit spookier today. I don't think we got enough last time. Definitely not. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. Oh, right, yeah. We were gonna investigate Rika and see if she, disappeared. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number.
ケイチ、こんな時間に電話？夜遅くは先方に失礼だからよしなさい。
And in fact, I am being incredibly considerate right now, Mom.
今はそれどころじゃないんだよ。
I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up. Come on, pick up. You don't understand, Mom. It's a matter of life and death. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? Her phone would be ringing constantly, though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. You know, the 11 p.m. bath? If that was the case, then even if she had heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick it up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes, then try calling again. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again. I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes. Yet she wasn't picking up. Were my phone calls so persistent that she'd gotten scared of picking up the receiver? Because that's what normal people do. No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Crap, I've never even asked where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book, but could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Crap. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know.
そうだ。レナなら知ってるに違いない。
I looked up Rinna's phone number on the contact list. Rinna Ryugu. There she was. Keiichi, please stop calling people at night. They're getting really aggravated. It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Rinna's father. I am calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。前原と申しますが、レナさんはいらっしゃいますか？
レイナは風呂に入っていますが。あ、出たかな。レイナ、友達から電話だぞ。
Oh, right. Reina Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I'd gotten so used to calling her Rinna that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard.
もしもし、お電話変わりました。
あ、俺だよ、刑事だ。夜遅くにすまん。
あれ、圭一君？こんな時間に何かな？かな？
実はリカちゃんの家がどこにあるのか知りたいんだ。
Rinna seemed a bit appalled that I'd call her for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she'd caught on to how urgent my need was.
うんいいよ。古出神社の境内に集会所があるよね。その裏手に2階建ての倉庫小屋があるのを知ってるかな。そこに住んでるんだよ。
I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the Shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look around.
わかった。ありがとう。こんな遅くにすまなかったな。親父さんに謝っといてくれ。
そんなのはいいよ、ケイチ君。それより、どうしてリカちゃんの家を聞くのかな。
Just wanted to say hi. Rinna asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
ケイチ君、聞こえてるなら答えてほしいな。どうしてリカちゃんの家の場所をこんな時間に聞きたいのかな。
Rinna affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Rinna, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed.
ケイチ君、レナは真剣に聞いてるんだけどな。
I'm sure Rinna is.
答えてほしいよ。
Rinna asked me once again in a tone so forceful, I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Rinna was Rika-chan's friend too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rinna, then, even if only for a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears.
レナ、理由を聞かれると困るんだが。
Rinna's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, "No matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you." That subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth.
リカちゃんが危ない気がするんだ。
それは虫の知らせかな。それともリカちゃんに危険が迫っている何か確信がある。
I really didn't have time to go back and forth with Rinna about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience.
確信はないけど。
Yet, I still hesitated. I told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Rinna. While I was tongue-tied, Rinna spoke up.
変なこと聞いてごめんね。考えたら確信なんか必要なかった。
Rinna laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rinna continued in a cheerful, yet purposeful voice.
友達のことが心配になって、それを確かめるのに理由なんかいらないと思う。仮にリカちゃんが寝てて、それを起こしてしまったとしても、それが理由なら私たちは誰も怒らないと思うよ。
Rinna, thank you.
じゃあまずはケイチ君に確認するね。リカちゃんの家に電話はしたんだよね。それでどうしても繋がらないから家の場所を聞いてきたんだね。
ああ、10分以上は鳴らし続けたと思う。ひょっとしたら気づかなくて寝てるだけなのかも。
リカちゃんの家はとても狭いの。だから電話が鳴ったらたとえ寝ていても気づかないわけはないよ。
Well, there we have it, folks. She's dead. She's clearly dead.
さとこちゃんもいるんだから2人揃って気づかないわけはない。
Satoko killed her?
サトコってリカちゃんと一緒に住んでるのか？
うん、知 知らなかったの？今はその話は後ね。とにかく電話をそれだけ鳴らして誰も出ないのは絶対におかしいよ。
Rinna understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Rinna had acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility of it all just being the result of my own needless fears went out the window.
私も今からすぐにリカちゃんの家に行くね。一緒に行く？なら迎えに行くよ。
わかった。じゃあいつもの待ち合わせ場所で合流しよう。待ってるぞ。
私、ケイチ君の家に迎えに行くから。だからお家で待ってていいよ。それからご家族に私と一緒にリカちゃんの家に行ってくるって伝えておいてね。
うちでいいのか？時間のロスのような。
あと、みーちゃんには電話した？みーちゃんはこういう時すっごく頼もしいの。まだなら私から電話しておくね。
My thoughts froze for a moment. Shiona just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So, wouldn't that mean she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomitake-san, and also the mayor's disappearance?
じゃあね、すぐに行くからね。待っててね。
That's all Rinna said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Rinna wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm, and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? Then, it wasn't only Rika-chan? Satoko wasn't there either? Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. That can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there were a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. Rinna was really fast. She approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, painting a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going.
おう、レナ、さあ行こうぜ。
ケイチ君、私、お家で待っててって言ったはずだよ。
She sounds a little upset. Rinna's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue, and I faltered for a moment.
いや、ここで合流した方が早く出発できると思ってさ。
ケイチ君は、本当に分かってるの？
Rinna shouted, clearly angry. I'd never seen Rinna like this before.
分かってるのかって何がだよ。
Rinna seemed to notice she was scaring me, took a couple of deep breaths, then continued as if admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all.
ケイチ君、昨日村長さんがいなくなって村中で大騒ぎになったよね。
ああ。
そんな中で、ケイチ君はリカちゃんとサトコちゃんがいなくなったって言ってるんだよ。
Oh, right, yeah. That's true.
そういうことになるな。
じゃあ、もっと用心しなくちゃダメだよ。こんな夜中にたった一人でこんなところで突っ立ってるなんて不用心にも程があるんだから。
I began to understand where Rinna's anger was coming from.
ご家族にはちゃんと私とリカちゃんの家に行くって伝えたよね。
Totally.
万が一、私と圭一君が揃って失踪しちゃうようなことがあっても、いつどの辺でいなくなったのかを残すことができる。
Rinna was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of the Watanagashi, every night, someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomitake-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hinamizawa was a little weird at the moment. It was, in fact, extremely strange. Rinna had even anticipated our own disappearances, and had told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night.
ごめん、まだ言ってなかった。
じゃあ一緒に言いに行こう。
With Rinna beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. The sky that was uselessly vast and cold. So that no matter what, it would never seem to me like a dream. This cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Rinna had been unimaginably dependable. Hinamizawa's metamorphosis, enough to make Rinna caution me against carelessness, was, to me, the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on the way, and she, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Satoko's disappearance.
ケイちゃん、本気で言ってんの？もし冗談だったらかなり怒るよ。
Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satoko disappearing after all was something that you just couldn't say, even in jest.
兄ちゃん、本当に冗談だったなら怒るんじゃなく笑おうよ。だって冗談なんだから。私たちはそれが冗談であることを確かめなくちゃいけない。
そうだね。機嫌の悪そうなことを言ってごめん。
However indiscreet a joke it may have been, if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Rinna, Mion gave a dry smile, the tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our 3 bicycles' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. They were some of the only illumination outside.
ケイちゃんはなぜ急にこんな時間にリカちゃんの家に電話なんかする気になったわけ？
Mion asked me the same thing that I had trouble explaining to Rinna.
虫が知らせた。じゃあ、おかしいか。
I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I thought I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness.
俺さ、うたた寝してる時に悪い夢を見ると、どうしても気になっちゃうんだよ。
ケイチ君はそれでリカちゃんがさらわれる夢を見たわけかな。
いや、もっと漠然とした予感みたいなものだよ。リカちゃんが電話に出てくれたなら、レナやミオにも続けて電話するつもりだったよ。
Lies smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them I was connected to Shion would be like silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her. Or maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satoko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. I felt relieved, and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these last few days, but I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Oishi-san. That she was a successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. Was I just trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi Maibara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of the Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone, at that. Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At the time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, then Shion and Oishi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking only of everything she had done after that, while disregarding the very first thing, the thing I should have been looking at most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me the answers to any of my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead.
フルデ神社か。
みんな公園みたいな感覚で勝手に出入りしてるけど、本当はここは古出家の立派な私有地なんだよ。
So the entire shrine is private property. It really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked exactly the same.
だとすると、フルデ家って結構な旧家なんじゃないのか？代々続いた由緒ある。
ない。おかしいよ。
Rinna said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her.
どうしたレナ？
リカちゃんとサトコちゃんはいつもここに自転車を止めてるはずなの。ほら、どこにもない。
I took a look around. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here.
他の場所に止めてる可能性もあるんじゃない？例えば担いで石段を上がったとか。
女の子には無理だよ、ケイチ君。
Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up there. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't what you'd call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and we hadn't noticed them. I refused to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof that they disappeared.
行こうぜ。家に行った方がはるかに確実だろう。
We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came out into the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened.
で、リカちゃんたちが住んでいる家ってのはどこにあるんだ？
こっち、ついてきて。
Rinna took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looped around behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small prefab two-story shack that looked like a warehouse.
明かり消えてるね。寝てるんじゃない？
ノックしてみよう。
Rinna and Mion neared the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I'd figured they'd live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I had expected.
リカちゃん、サトコちゃん、いる？
Rinna shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but it steadily grew louder. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all.
寝てるのかもしれない。起こしてみよう。
Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have had to notice this much noise. They would turn on the light in their room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist on the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face.
鍵かかってる。どこかから中に入れないかな。
Rinna showed no signs of stopping. It didn't look like she would admit that they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. That refusal to give in gave me strength.
2階の窓とか鍵をかけ忘れてないかな。俺ちょっと試してみる。
ケイちゃん、はしご。
Mion brought over a ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, I climbed up one step at a time, and tried to open each window on the second floor.
みーちゃん、私念のため本宅の方も見てくるね。すぐ戻るから。
Rinna darted away. What? A main house?
古出家の本当の家だよ。両親が亡くなって以来ずっと放置してあるそうだけど。
あ、そうか。リカちゃんのご両親って亡くなってるんだよな。
And presumably she just lives here by herself, I guess? At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too?
サトコも親なしだよ。親代様のたたりってことで、両親が崖から落っこちてね。お兄さんだったサトシ君もいなくなっちゃって。
サトシって前に聞いた名前だな。
I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse.
それ以来、サトコはリカちゃんと一緒にこの小屋で暮らしてるんだよ。互いに身寄りのない一人ぼっち同士。助け合ってね。
本宅って言ったか？そっちで暮らした方が楽だろうに。
The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but two young girls living together seemed like a pretty tough life.
初めはそうしてたみたい。でも、両親を思い出すから辛いって言って。
I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of this.
リカちゃんもサトコも大変なんだな。
呪われてるんだよ。
え？
Suddenly, Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she was really cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide.